Hello and welcome to the Corgi Town USA podcast. I am Candy. In my lap is Chuckles, our spokescorg.
Hi, I'm Catherine. Over there is Bigby, and outside is Calabria, my corgi and my cattle dog. And right now we have count them, two fosters, and they are a bonded pair. So we've got 4 dogs in house, which is what good
As
news.
do I. I have,
Yeah.
of course, I have Chuckles, and then Mortimer, who, since Kat normally is in studio with us, I was going to give Mortimer her chair, but Mortimer is a loud, barky corgi, and he wanted to talk the entire time through the podcast. So
Yep.
he got banished to his crate, poor guy. But Mortimer's here, and then of course we have Tito Bandito and our newest member, Little
I know she's
Rescue,
adorable.
Little Gilda. Yeah, she's filling our hearts and taking our sanity since since we
Yeah.
lost our little senior lady boogers. So she's still getting decompressed before we, work on some specific training. She really hasn't had any. We're her third home as a rescue, so we've got a lot of work to do as far as just behavior training and manners and things like that. So
Exactly.
another
But
day,
she's cute. Cute,
another
healthy.
day here at Corgi Town, USA. Yeah. So, but I'm excited. Today we have Richmond Griner of WagWorks, and
Yes.
we wanted to talk about all kinds of fun things. Richmond, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us today. Will you please tell our beloved viewer, beloved listener, all about you and what you're out here doing?
Yeah, well, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. This is my first podcast I've been on. I have my own, so it's flipping the script a little bit, so it's interesting. But yeah, basically, I finished up at Chapel Hill 2024, and that whole entire time I had planned on dental school. Like even in high school, like senior year, that was my plan, and so. I'd finished up school, and I'd done some pet care, house sitting before, on the side, and we ended up getting he's now 1 and some change, our puppy Cedric. He's a Springer Spaniel, absolutely adorable, and our logo is based off of him, so it's awesome. And so I'd finished up school, and I had planned on there's a master's program at NC State. And so I started that master's in January, but in December, I had started WagWorks. And so, it was just kind of pet care, house sitting. And I got about 2 or 3 months into my master's, and I was like, I don't love this. I don't really want to do 6 more years of school. And in the meantime, WagWorks had started, and basically we came up, and we offer things like walks, check-ins, overnights, that kind of thing, keeping it simple. And we came up with this concept where, same as people get American Red Cross certified to be a lifeguard, we developed in-house WagWorks certification modules. So our WAG runner, and you see a lot of these companies, Rover, WAG, they're fantastic. They've done really well, but they've dominated the industry for a while. And so we wanted to see kind of what we could do differently. And so we developed those and went through a few drafts of it, and I did the voiceovers for them. And they're not too long, so we have 10 modules, and then you take an exam at the end. But the idea is that at least gives we call them WAG runners. My face is right here, but I did a little thing right there. But anyways, our WAG runners are people who are WagWorks certified. And again, so we started that, and kind of a different concept than you've seen before. And so from there, we also looked, take Rover, for example, WAG. Rover, at least, they take 20% from each person who works for them. And they double dip on the opposite side, and they take, I believe it's 7% from the client's fees on top, like that. And so when I started this, we wanted to do it differently. And so we decided our model is a WAG runner is an independent contractor, 1099, and they keep 100% profit from their jobs. So if there's a, dog walk for, let's say, $15 or whatever it is, that all goes to the WAG runner. And so what that means for me now is I do a lot of dog jobs, to save up and everything. But that being said, that's our model. And so we're working on developing the app right now. And I have a buddy from college, John Sebastian, who knows how to do he's a computer science major. and he'll be able to do the coding. And then my partner and I are, after we have some other things going on in the business, but we'll work on starting to develop the workflow and then getting it to a software called Figma. And then we get it to John. And the idea is, so similar to Netflix, it'll be a subscription based. So WAG runners will pay, let's say 10 to 15 a month, and they're able to use our app. And again, the idea is that instead of, let's say you make $1,000, you lose 200 to Rover or whatever it is, or you're working for a dog walking company locally and you get paid by the hour. Now you just pay $15 or whatever the number is, and you get to keep all the rest of the money you made. And so we really want to focus on bringing trust back into pet care. There's been a lot of issues with that, and what we want to do is, for example, I'm kind of the guinea pig, I'll say, of WagWorks, and I've built my business through WagWorks. And so I met so many people in my neighborhood that, we don't know anymore, and built my own clientele. And I have that. And now I have people that depend on me, dogs that depend on me. And so what we want to do is make it easy to connect with people in, their area who need pet care, who need dog walking, and also have it being consistent. We always do an introductory meeting before. That's required because we think it's important that you meet the pet and cats too. You meet the dog or cat with their owner. And so, like, for example, if I was too busy and I wasn't able to help out a client, I wouldn't just send another WAG runner there if they haven't met them before. We think that's very important. And again, we want to develop this as something built on trust, and also providing tools for people to build their own business through WagWorks. And so the app will include certain things like a checklist. Like, let's say, Catherine, you're on vacation and you want certain things done at certain times, right? So walk the dog at 8, you go to lunch or, lunch break, whatever. You can have that checklist right there. And then on the WAG runner side, they can see all those things and do second to second updates, and you click it and you see. And so not only does that help you and give you peace of mind, but that also helps them remember, because, I forget a lot of things. So that's a little bit about WagWorks to begin with.
That's pretty genius. That's and the coming from I don't have the computer background. I was sales and customer service for a software company.
Mm-hmm.
But software as a service, and my husband kind of does that now. Part of his whole thing is reselling software as a service. That's an amazing model, because everybody gets to do their own business, and and they have the software to help them.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a lot of work ahead on the app side of things, and we really want to do as much as we can in-house. And Candy, we talked a little bit about some incubator startup programs and some funding, and we'll see how that goes. We're looking forward to that in 2026. But again, we want to, we want to do as much as we can. And, I have this idea for this app and certain features. And also I'm learning so much, like taxes, for example. I have no idea how to do that or what that is. And so can we put something into the app, right? Okay, so here's what you need to do. Here's your W-2. Here's how you fill it out. Gas mileage, right? You can track that when you're driving from job to job. Can we put a little tracker in there? And so we want it. So, you see a lot of people who have worked for Rover. Well, they just go outside and they just do Venmo instead, which makes sense. You're keeping more money, right? You can't. So we want something that's attractive to clients and to the WAG runners. And so, we really like the model. And again, and I also mentioned we do a 5% fee, and that's kind of where we're keeping it at on clients. So, you pay $10 for the walk, and it's $10.50, because 30 cents of that, or 3%, goes to Stripe or Wix or whatever, your processing thing is on your Amex. And then WagWorks keeps 2%. So we're not here to take a lot of money and put on these fees and additional things, but it's enough to where maybe that could help pay for the website or other things. And so again, I'm young, and so I'm okay with this. I'm building this business, and it's a lot of work. And we have I think 3 WAG runners in Raleigh, North Carolina, and 3 in Winston as well. So kind of people who will be picking up jobs, and we're slowly building up on that. But again, I think the app is where it will scale, hopefully.
Yeah, I love this. And one thing I'll touch on is I know you're still developing the app and we don't want to get too far in the weeds, but when you're talking about, a business like one of the previous competitors, right? One of the value adds of having everything in the app, and I like that you are people centric, that you're giving back to the ones actually doing the work. So the people sitting, the people walking, right? But I believe part of the value of the app is that there's some management and cohesiveness and branding. And why that's important is for the pet parent, right? Pet parent. Like
Yeah,
we want to know reviews. We want to know, consistency. We want that open line of communication with who's caring for our pets, right? Like
definitely.
that to me is the big draw of having it in one central place versus just for like hiring freelancers by yourself.
Exactly. And what's as you guys can probably tell, I enjoy to talk and enjoy to communicate, and that's
You're
what
in
I
good
do.
company.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that's what I do for my clients.
Yeah.
I text them updates. I send them pictures. I check on how their trip is going. I've done that since the get-go. Now, I mean, that's just something that I enjoy to do. People are on vacation, but they really care about their dogs. And, stuff I do when I'm leaving a house from overnight sitting, I always make sure the house is clean. The counters are wiped off. I try to do the bed, do the laundry and everything for them and go that extra yard. And, I can't ask all the WAG runners to do that kind of thing, but I think just giving a little bit of extra effort and communication and, it makes a big difference. And I
And I'm
think,
assuming there's a rating system.
Yeah.
not so we honestly, I don't know. I'm TBD on that because I think when you get ratings, I think it can become kind of a negative, kind of a certain thing where it's like, oh, well, this is a 4.4. This happened once. Like, I have a client that I, don't work with anymore because of whatever situation. But I have also a lot of clients who come back to me consistently, right? And so I don't want to set up something where people are getting rated like on Uber, and I also don't think like people are defined by one certain rating or one certain instance. And
Well,
so, yeah,
I'm going to jump in. I'm
yeah,
going to jump in. And so I will say that, and this is kind of an education for everybody out there that has a business. You set up your Google business profile. And I would encourage if I'm a WAG's work certified, and
mhm,
that's huge. Having that
WagWorks.
certification is huge. Um, uh, Dog walker, pet sitter.
mhm,
I would want to set up in my town my own WagWorks Catherine, whatever permissions you give people, my own Google business review. And that's for a number of reasons. One, it brings up your brand. And I speak from experience because guy who sits over there, that's my hubby. The guy who sits over there, that's what he does. He does Google business stuff
right,
for businesses. And when you're smart and you get a bad review, you go in and you say, well, we're really sorry that this happened. And please call me directly and let's make it better. And I know other people read bad reviews, not to see what people do, because
It's to
I
see what the
know.
worst is you could potentially deal with, is
Right.
sure,
what it is.
A-
Yeah.
And some people can get nitpicky about things that they don't need to get nitpicky about. I
right,
can get nitpicky. Um, but how does the person handle it? And I always, I know Candy, we're not, I always use the example of one of my friends. He's a veterinarian. He used to have his own practice. And when somebody left him a bad review,
mhm,
he attacked them. Not said, we did our very best and, let's talk about it, better ways that we can communicate with your dog and with you to
How
help
can we make
things.
it up to you? Yeah,
How can we make it up to you?
sure.
He attacked them and it didn't bode well for him.
sure
So
you did.
to all your future WagWorks certified people out there, and to you as a new business owner, from me who I did the math. I'm old enough to be your grandmother. I know I look amazing, but make sure people have bad days, and people are not their bad days. Those are just bad days. Answer them kindly. Get that, whatever you're doing, even if it's a side hustle, get that Google Business Profile, which is free, and respond kindly, because I know I personally and other people go, all right, how did they handle, like Candy said, the worst thing that happened?
Sure.
Well, let's touch on that just a little bit as we're going in this without getting too far into the weeds, because we want to focus on WagWorks and what you're doing. And I love this concept, and I love where your head is in the service for pet parents. So when we're talking about how you respond is just business sense. I mean, anybody taking an MBA, there's a part of business ethics and how to respond to problems. So what you're talking about in a very obtuse sense is the reality is with any business, including services, it's impossible for humans to be 100% fantastic 100% of the time. That's the reality.
Definitely.
So the metric is, again, with something like reviews, what's the worst we can do? I do that with hotels. I'll check reviews. I go straight to the worst ones. And the reason why is because I want to see, what was it that you dealt with? Was it that the service at the front, you thought they were rude? Meh, I don't care. Was it that it was like dirty and there were bugs and I can't deal with that. Like, I'm going to make sure if that's on there, that's going to put me out. So again, it's how you respond, and that's just good business. And I think that's along any metric. When we are talking about things like health and service of our animals, to me, there are things that are completely non-negotiable. And we've had pet sitters on the show before, and we've had one in particular that I was really impressed with because they told us about how the people they hire pay very specific attention to behaviors. And so they have a due process of, if something is noticed, their job is to say something to management and say, how do you want me to handle this? Do you think I take them straight to the vet? Obviously, we're going to talk to the pet parent first, but if we can't get a hold of them and we're concerned about something, if they're overseas or, what have you, check any box. And I thought that was really impressive. To me, that goes, I will hire you.
Definitely.
You are paying attention to my pet. It's not just, oh, you walked them. That's great. Oh, you watched them. That's great. Are you paying attention to how they're eating, how things are coming out, right? Like how is their behavior? Do they seem off? Those nuances to me are the difference between absolutely would hire you and I don't know if I will, because I'm that mom. And I feel like a lot of our audience is that mom, that dad.
Is that mom.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the pet has become part of the nuclear family in the recent years. When my dad was telling me, and same with my grandpa, before, you'd have outside dogs, like you'd have dogs or in rural areas, it wouldn't be a thing. And now it's become such an important part of people's lives and their families. And you need to give that attention. And I agree. I mean, I think you make a great point about the rating system. And I think I am just, again, trying to figure out the best way to go about it, because I don't want people to be defined by certain instances of things that happen and assigning a number to someone. But I do think it is important for people to be able to give feedback about. And so what we want to do eventually down the line is come out with more modules where it talks about things like communication, honesty, client interaction, all that kind of things, those soft skills that is one thing that I'm relatively good with is communication with clients. And so how can we kind of share that and have people have good interactions? Because the idea is we don't, once the app comes out, whoever it is, I don't know, Jimmy down the street, he's building his own business. He gets paid through the app. He interacts with clients, and stuff comes up. It doesn't come to WagWorks because the idea is it's his business through this, and he's able to use what we have as a tool, in order to do the best that he can. But and again, we want to something that we want to do right now, because we have we're about a year in, and we're going to be increasing our prices slightly in the new year, just due to demand and everything like that. But we want to utilize something called a dynamic pricing system, where we want to take in consideration, because Rover, you set your own prices. And that can be good and that can be bad, right? Some people are going to put it up really high and get really good clients, or they won't get any business. It's kind of a guessing game. And so what we want to do is integrate using an algorithm that we have and will continue to develop a pricing system that takes into account like the zip code, the area, right? Like if you're in Greensboro versus you're in Winston-Salem, those are both North Carolina places. And then it also takes into consideration the experience of the pet sitter through the app. And so those prices can fluctuate slightly, and having those maybe good reviews or stuff like that can adjust. But ultimately it's controlled and it's consistent and it's not overly priced is the goal with that.
And to earmark that, I think there's also something to be said about allowing space for very good, trusted pet care without pricing someone out of it.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Because with anything in life, and especially the society we live in, the more money that you have at your disposal, the easier, better, and safer your life is.
Yeah.
And so if we're offering a space for people to have really good care without completely blowing their budget, that's one of the services I offer. Is I offer obedience training, and I have tiered pricing so that it makes dog training a little bit more available for them. Because often we hear, well, we would love to get training. We have these behavioral problems in our dog, etc. However, to hire an in-home trainer just is completely expensive. Well, I've offered services where we can package and tier that so that you can get the help you need and it doesn't price you out of it, but you're still getting really good service.
Absolutely.
So I think you're really, really good on the same vein there. And thank you for sharing that with us. As we're talking about this, fellow podcaster, let's talk about WagPod. Tell us how you birthed this idea in conjunction with your business and what the mission is of your show.
Yeah. So when WagWorks started, I wanted it to be kind of a creative conglomerate. And
like what we're doing now.
Exactly. And I wanted to give an example. My brother-in-law, John Boone, he did the WagWorks designs for us. And, he's a really, really good artist. He's his own brand called Burglar Brand. He has a day job and everything like that. But I've been able to, he helps me with graphics because that's not my strong skill. And I've realized I really just wanted to do something where I get to work with and hang out with friends and family and the things that people are good at and what they are able to do, provide a way to do that. And so at the same time, I was like, I don't know. I kind of always dabble. I was like, maybe do a podcast, but I didn't have a reason to do one. And so I kind of came up with this idea for the WagPod, where the mission was simply to talk to awesome people in the pet industry. And I'm 38 episodes in. I try to do, I release once a week, every Monday. And when I first started, I was living in Raleigh before I withdrew from that master's program. And I had a buddy, Alex Green, who was awesome. And he helped me. So he would bring down the equipment from Chapel Hill. He's a media major there. And we'd go, and I had a shed in my backyard. So we threw up some lights and kind of cleaned it up a little bit. And we started doing some episodes, and we had some really good guests. We had our first one was the founder of Pawtism, Donnie Wilson. And it's basically a philanthropy where they help raise funds for people who may be autistic or have need for a service dog and provide grants for that. And so he's from Winston, and we had him on. He drove down, came in the shed. We had on, his name is Baden Jackson. But before he changed his name, but he was a player for UNC Chapel Hill basketball. And he's the founder of Pup Park Shuttle, where they pick up dogs in the Raleigh area and take them on adventures throughout the day. And, I've had all sorts of guests all over: training, grooming, entrepreneurs. And I've also, it's a way for me to learn, right? I'm done with school for now, at least. And I learn a lot about different areas of the pet industry, whether it's holistic, raw feeding, again, training. And we talk, people are really opinionated. And, I'm definitely talking a lot now because I'm the guest, but it's good too, because we I don't know. On that, I've gotten better at interviewing people and not going right at the same time or jumping in. And so, yeah, I'm actually getting some podcast equipment to for Christmas, and then I'll need to buy some extra stuff. And we want to start doing in person here again soon. And yeah, I mean, I've just met people I keep up with really well. Like, for example, I did a podcast with this guy from New Zealand, Curtis, and he's the founder of Give a Shit Pet Products, which is yeah, it's awesome, and it's compostable poop bags. And we did our preliminary meeting, and on the episode we found out that we both had, he mentioned he had OCD, and I was like, oh, me too, and so we ended up we created a friendship. Not only did he become a guest, but we'll talk, every other week or every month, and I like making friends. I'm not necessarily a friend group guy, but meeting people all over. So it's been really good. And again, like you guys, I try to batch episodes, get a couple ahead. And Candy and I were discussing it's a lot of work to have a podcast. Definitely.
Yeah. I used to have a podcast with my late husband. It was called Together 24/7 because we lived and worked together. And it was interesting. We met a lot of great couples, and they were extremely supportive when he passed away, which was really nice. And we would go on to Shark Tank. Not we went on Shark Tank, but we went on the website and looked for all of the couples that presented together. So that was good. It's really neat. Some of the people that we met, Candy and I interviewed someone, and bing, bang, boom, Candy got, was it Frito Bandito or was it, no, it was Mortimer. No, Frito Bandito.
What are you talking about?
One of the interviews that you did with Robert.
Okay, that's a whole other story that's going to take on its own.
Yep, no, but
it
just
that's for another time. Yeah.
As you said,
you meet cool people who influence your life.
Yeah,
it's basically the idea there.
So now that you've brought it up, we're real careful with breeders. So we interviewed who she's talking about before the breeding program existed. And so that's why I want to be very careful about what you're talking about. Yeah. We will never be incentivized by any breeding program. Nope. However, the main mission, we have a few here at Corgi Town, USA, but the main mission is to educate others and encourage others to only purchase from reputable breeding programs with full genetic testing and health guarantees, among some other things, because those dogs don't wind up in shelters and rescue like the backyard bred and the hobby bred do. So what you're talking about is early on in our show, someone came to us and said, I'm starting a breeding program. I have a mentor, but I've noticed you're very hard on breeders. I would love to have a conversation about how I can do this the best way, which of course we loved because they were coming to us as pet pawrents. I have one of those puppies now. So that's what Kat's talking about.
That's awesome.
That whole story take on a life its own. I don't want to get to it.
Well, I mean, I align with what you're saying, and we talked about this before, Candy, where again, I think the pet industry can have some very opinionated and potentially hostile takes on anything that happens, whether it's training, whether it's breeding. And ultimately what matters most to me in that is that the pet is happy and that the people are happy, right? If you want to adopt a dog, fantastic. And we have 2 Springer Spaniels, and they are from breeders. And my mom is a self-proclaimed Springer Spaniel enthusiast. Awesome, right? We're happy. We have, we have Cedric on here. I think ultimately it boils down to what makes people happy, and everyone's trying their best, I think, and that's, yeah.
Well, and we're here about advocating for the dogs. And what you're talking about is the power of networking. And I am huge on perspective. I think perspective is everything. Because when we shut down to other perspectives, that's when indignation comes in, and we can't have productive conversations to look at things in a whole sphere. Then we're only looking from first-person narratives. And then it's impossible to grow and learn that way. And so I think that these collective perspectives you're talking about helps us be better pet care professionals, better pet parents, right? Because we've heard that other side. It's like the adopt, don't shop crowd, right? Like anytime we get hit with that, because they say, oh, well, you're talking about breeders and breeders shouldn't be breeding at all. I disagree with that for a myriad of reasons, but without going into all that, the whole sphere is, if you say, oh, adopt, don't shop, I'm gonna say, absolutely, please adopt. Cats running fosters, the need is always going to supersede the resources. And so with the better education, I just personally feel that with better education, we will have better breeding programs because we're not giving money to the poor ones. And then that's going to reduce our shelter and rescue population. Some people disagree with that. And I'm always open to the disagreements because that's how we learn. That's how we grow. But it's always on advocacy for the animals. It's not because I want or because for us. It's better advocacy for the animals. And as we listen, you have interviewed a lot of trainers, and training is all over the place. That's a perfect example, right?
It is. And I don't think there's anything wrong with a little bit of education and learning about things before you speak so strongly on them. And that's something that I've really enjoyed is being a host of a podcast is just people come on, they share their story, they're doing their best. And, I want to support that and promote that. And they might say some things that I don't necessarily agree with, but I don't it's not it's time and place. I don't have to come on and say, well, are you sure about that? Or, you want to keep a good environment and, kind of hear them out or ask them hard questions about certain things. And so, yeah, I've really enjoyed it. And I'll say, I think looking to the future, probably midway through 2026, I have a little bit of an idea for a new series that I'll be doing, hopefully. I've been interviewing all these people. It's awesome. People across the pet industry. And I try to be careful and aware of not talking about WagWorks too much because, there's that feeling inside of you people don't really care that much. You want to put out something that people want to watch. But also, as I've grown in this business, I think there are people who do want to hear a little bit more about what's going on. And so a series I want to be launching is, I'll call it WagWorks 101. That'll be the first episode. Then WagWorks 102, and then 103, like in school. And the idea is I just bring a friend of mine on, whether it's John, my brother-in-law, my buddy Wise, my sister, whoever, just come in and talk about what's going on in our lives and what's going on with WagWorks that week. And so I think that will we'll see how that goes. But it's something I'm looking forward to. I definitely want to try it out.
Well, there's definitely room for everything. And I'm going to move my microphone so that Candy's not wondering when she edits. I'm leaning back because Digby needs some pets.
Yeah.
I want to kind of bring the conversation back around to WagWorks, and a question popped in my brain.
Mm-hmm.
When you're, scrolling through whatever social media, the powers that be know what you like, know what you love, and even know what you're thinking about, which is scary. I see a lot of stuff for dog leashes. I've got some pullers, and Candy has helped train them, but she didn't train me that well yet. And that's really pet pawrents out there. It's not your pet, it's you.
Right.
And I fully acknowledge that it's me. And Candy is keeping her tongue bit, but it's absolutely me. Anyway, I see all these ads for different leashes.
Mm-hmm.
I would like, as WagWorks president and CEO and a WagWorks worker,
Yep.
what's your opinion?
That's a good question. I operate under the mindset that what the client says goes, right? So if they want to use a harness, great. If they want to use a prong collar, great. If they want to use a slip leash, great. It's whatever is most important to the client. That's how I kind of go about it. Our two dogs, specifically, Cedric had a harness. He actually had one where you had the leash coming off the front, so he couldn't pull either way. And they both use prong collars and it works for him. And so, I don't necessarily have a strong opinion on what kind of leash is better. I will say I am not a fan of the ones that you, at least walking dogs, where you like click a button and then they can go away, and you know what I mean? Those
Oh,
I don't
no.
like
Are you
them.
talking about retractable leashes?
Yes.
Yes, they have a high failure rate, and I don't allow them in my
I
training
hate
program.
walking with those because you
Yeah.
don't have any control and you pull it. Anyways, that's one thing that I'm not a huge fan of. But if the client wants me to use it and that's their preference, again, I think the most important thing is, the client's perspective, because they know their dog, right? You're coming in, walking or doing whatever. And I think if they say feed this much, feed that much. If they think,
Exactly.
if they think use this leash, use this leash. And I'm not here to, critique people and say, well, this happens or this happens. I'm here to provide a service, So, I mean, that's kind of a roundabout way of saying it really is up to the clients, but I do not love retractable leashes.
Well, and in true Catherine fashion, potentially we are opening up a very ugly can of worms here, because this is going back to training is kind of all over the map.
Right.
There's certifications that trainers can get that are generally recommended
Mhm.
because they've been through tried and true programs with peer-reviewed studies and things of that nature. That being said, I'm going to say we were talking about not always agreeing. So I kind of love that this coming up. I don't agree with prong collars. I'm not going to lambaste you for using them.
Yeah,
However, I would never use that because I'm positive reinforcement only. I use
sure.
no negative or pressure enforcement in my training program. Here's the difference between that, and I'm just going to talk about this briefly.
Yeah.
When we're talking about using things like tools to help us, when you're walking your dog on a lead or your WagWorks employees are walking a dog on the lead, the dog learns to walk on the lead because that's a construct we gave them. Dogs are wanderers, scavengers, and foragers.
Mhm.
They've just learned to have this symbiotic relationship with us. As such, when you think about a dog pulling, you are not going to enjoy as a human being handcuffed to someone. And that's essentially what's happening with your dog.
Sure.
So we get a dog who's never been on a lead before, a puppy. We want to train them to walk on the lead. The idea is that they learn to walk with you. The lead is simply there for safety.
Right.
Now, can we essentially, with lack of a better term, and forgive this kind of violent description, but can we sucker punch the dog into walking next to us? Sure. That's what things like prong collars do. The difference between, and again, this is perspective. I'm always open to balance trainers. I do not lambaste them. The balance trainers will tell you not all dogs respond to positive reinforcement and things like that. I haven't seen it yet. I've been, graciously, I haven't had to deal with that. But because of that, I always remain open. However, I don't stand behind anything that can cause harm to the dog, and prong collars are painful. If someone is going to handcuff you because they don't want you to get away from them, if they put spikes in that handcuff, you're really not going to like it.
Sure.
And that's kind of how I liken it to it. But since Kat asked about the leashes, please think about leashes, and this is going to be from a trainer about for your people working that are walking as well, and pet parents out there. When we're choosing leashes and harnesses, number one, comfort and usability for the dog. We want it to be comfortable on them, that they're not in pain, that it's not putting pressure in the wrong places. And then we start to train with walk with me, follow my steps, right? And then we use the tool that keeps them safe. And that is kind of the way that I do it. Is first and foremost, are they comfortable? Do they like wearing their harness? Do they like the collar? Are they having some sort of problem with it? One of my favorite things that's ever been said on the show is our 100th episode with Susan from Queen's Best Stumpy Dog Rescue. She works and rehabs with a lot of behavior cases because, of course, they don't get the dogs that are easily adoptable. They get the ones that have behavior problems, aggression, bites, things like that. Yeah. So when they come to them, one of my favorite things she said is these dogs are nonverbal autistic children. So when you're training, you need to think of it that way. And often, one of the things that can come up is some dogs will not like the feel of shirts, clothes, harnesses, things like that. They do better with the collar because they don't like the way it feels on their fur and their skin.
Yep.
Right? That's just an example.
Sure.
And when you're walking dogs often, and I've heard this from professional dog walkers, a lot of times pet parents will want you to train their dogs to walk on the lead, which is really not the function of the dog walker.
Nope.
So
No.
there's a lot to be said there, right? But I just
Yeah.
coming full circle, without shaming anyone, lambasting, or having any kind of debate on right versus wrong when it comes to leashes, collars, harnesses, and things of that nature. I would say comfort first, usability second. Third, work with your dog to walk with you. The lead is there simply for safety. And if you're hiring a dog walker, you're going to hire WagWorks, we hope. Please work with the trainer. There's a lot of free resources out there to teach you how to walk with your dog. And of course, we're here for you at Corgi Town USA for advice. Get them used to it. How's that for nice, succinct?
Yeah. No, I mean that totally makes sense, and I think that's why we had considered earlier. You know, we had people on the podcast and they're trainers or groomers. We were like, well, maybe we can do training certifications or modules, or we can do grooming modules. And my take on it is, I don't want you need to be with the dog to do the training and the grooming. However, in terms of being a good wag runner, being a good, with people, you can watch modules and know what to do. And so I've definitely had people ask me, am I interested in dog training? And, I've had clients say like, can you maybe do some training? And while that would be awesome, I think that what we have here is a good thing. I don't want to try to do things that I am not, great at, right? Like I'm a good dog walker, right? I'm a good house sitter. I sleep there. I do a good job. And that is something that can be trained. And I think in WagWorks, we want to stay, we have simple offerings, right? We do a walk, we do a check-in, we do an overnight. We don't want to overcomplicate things. You get trained, and then we're not here to, train and groom and do all that kind of things, because that's not, if you're doing something part-time, WagWorks part-time, you can do it full-time, anything like that. And I mean, I think training is awesome. I think trainers are great, and I think they're interesting. And I just know that it is a divisive world,
Sure.
as Candy, you and I had talked about.
And that's the beauty of having your show as a resource as well, because you say, you know what? And I think that's wise as well for scalability. These are what we are. This is what we're good at. These are the services we offer. However, we have a show in which we have interviewed several different trainers. Please check out those episodes. That way you can you can choose the trainer, reach out to one of our referral partners from our show that speaks to the way you think.
Absolutely. And
I
I'll
think that's a great
mention
service offering in itself.
Right. And I won't go super in depth in it. But I will mention we have another part of WagWorks is WagWorks Cares. So that is our nonprofit. And and so we're incorporated, but we're still awaiting the 501c3. And so once that happens, we'll update the website. Very fortunate to have 7 board members and a chair, as well as I'll be the president, and we have a treasurer, a secretary, and then also 3 advisors to the board. And our concept with that is, speaking on trainers, what we want to do is raise funds for pup scholarships. So once a dog gets adopted from a shelter, we will pay a local trainer, and so they will get free training. And so that's kind of, it's been really, I think that really bridges the gap. I think there's a lot of rescues and a lot of shelters out there. And I think one issue, because what I wanted to do is focus on an issue specifically, because there's so many different things you can work on. I think that oftentimes dogs get returned, and if they just had a little bit of training, that could make a difference. So we'll start with that in the Winston area, partnering with local trainers and local shelters, and then hopefully scale with that as well. And again, I'm glad I have a board, because we'll have to discuss and decide what kind of training we want to do, right? Do we want to do daily obedience training? Do we want to do board and train, that kind of thing? And I don't know, and so I think talking to all these trainers, all these people, I'm learning a lot, and it's setting me up. So we're really looking forward to that. I have a good group of people there with me. And yeah, so that's another piece of the puzzle.
And let me jump in with this one. As a rescue mama, not a rescue mama, I'm sorry, as a foster, and I'm a rescue mama too. I'm a rescue mama. And as a foster mama, so I talked about Calabria, and everybody knows my cattle dog, and Calabria had 6 puppies, and I just got a text message from one of the people who adopted, and I can tell and I have constraints. Okay. I can tell when you're not going to be a good pet parent. I'm sorry, I just can. And I can also tell you that I have constraints and things that I can't stop. And it's almost a
Let's
year.
talk about that message very quickly, Kat. So
Yeah,
good, quote unquote, good is subjective.
good
So
is
let's
subjective.
change what you're saying here is you have developed this intuition as to if someone's going to stick by the animal with their best interest.
That is the perfect way of saying it.
Yeah.
And so,
That's why you guys are a team.
right. Got a text message. The puppy Ionica is not working out. And so I am in the process now of finding one of the rescues that I work with. And already Ionica was rejected by one because she barks at strangers. And I'm aware of this behavior because Calabria does it. Her mama does it. And it's something that Candy and I in the new year are going to work on to train her. And for right now, for me, it's not a problem. It is,
and for a puppy, that is highly fixable with training.
For a puppy, it's highly fixable, and she cannot afford to have that fixed. So my hands are tied with what rescue. I will foster the puppy, but what rescue will sponsor her?
Right.
And that becomes a problem. So what you're talking about is huge, and she is not the only dog that has been sent back that I have taken back through the rescues to rehome again. And I'm blessed to have Candy as my friend who helps me to train them a bit in order for them to be adoptable. In fact, another one, same situation. We went out of town, and another one of the fosters in the group took him for a week. And I'm happy to report that he is not only adopted by a woman who, like I desperately needed Digby, she desperately needed Apollo. And Apollo is now her emotional support animal and going into training. That's all Apollo needed was some training.
Yep.
And with that, he is an amazing dog. So I commend you for choosing that as your charity arm. And I personally can attest to the need for that.
Thank you. Yeah, I really appreciate that. And, not only I think will it be helping local rescues and shelters, but also I think, the idea is that it'll help the economy of whatever city we're doing it in, right? Dog trainers getting more consistent gigs. We're partnering. Obviously, there needs to be a lot of guidelines set up where, okay, I don't want someone to just get this dog and then we pay X amount for this training and then they just give it back, right? There needs to be some sort of guidelines. And again, that's why I'm so grateful I have a team with me to help once we get the 501c3 to get the work started. And I just want to say kind of overall what's going to separate us WagWorks from, let's say, Rover or Wag is this the charitable arm. It's the podcast. It's having a different way to approach pet care that prioritizes the people working for you and makes them feel like they want to be a part of this, as well as making clients, happy with what we can provide.
Wonderful.
That's wonderful. And as you're working on that, we'll have you back on as a guest and we'll talk more about that because
Absolutely.
I think a lot of people will want to get involved. You'll have fundraisers and things like that. And we have a lot of passionate pet parents here that are fans of Corgi Town USA. So we'll definitely want to hear more about it.
I love it.
We're going to let you get back to your entrepreneurial lifestyle and all the things you need to do. As we're talking, this will be on YouTube as well as Roku, and also all of the audios. We're going to drop those relevant links in the description box. But for anyone who may be driving back and forth to work and listening, can you please tell us how we can support your business, where to go to find out more about WagWorks and WagPod?
Yeah. Instagram, if you want to check us out, it is WagWorksNC. That is also our YouTube, and our TikTok is WagWorks.NC. I think the best way to support from afar is to follow us on Spotify for our podcast, follow us on Apple Podcasts for the podcast, subscribe to us on YouTube as it continues to help to grow the brand. And, if right now we're in Winston and Raleigh, you happen to listen to this from there, we would love to walk your pets, So anyways, thank you guys so much for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Well,
Yeah,
it's
we
wonderful.
appreciate you. Yeah, it's great to be connected with kindred spirits. And I think, like I said, you'll be a repeat guest and kind of keep everyone apprised as to what you're doing over there.
Awesome. And I can't wait to have you guys on the WagPod.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
We are suckers for collaboration.
I love it. I love it. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks so much,
Yeah.
Richmond. Okay, so please follow, subscribe to WagPod, follow WagWorks, reach out to Richmond if you're in that area to get your dogs walked by somebody who cares and pays attention. And we hope you liked this episode. We're here for
Absolutely.
you every week, every Thursday, all things Corgi and pet parent lifestyle. I am here with Chuckles and, of course, from the studio, Gilda, Mortimer, and Tito.
And I am here, as everyone saw, with my little Digby. And from the studio is also Calabria and our two Oliver and Scooter, our current rescues that are available for adoption.
Yes, reach out to us if you need new love in your life. Cat is always fostering a whole Noah's Ark of animals.
We are.
So please like and subscribe if you haven't. Follow us on YouTube. If you have your home television, you have Roku, you have a Roku, you can join the Roku studio for Corgi Town, USA. We would love to be broadcast in your television so that your corgis and your dogs can bork at ours. Otherwise, thank you so much. We'll see you next week.
Thanks. Bye.
Thanks. Bye-bye.